I never thought I would be writing about my marriage like this, but here I am. My name is Jake, and I've been married to Laura for 5 years. We have a beautiful 3-year-old daughter named Mia. By all accounts, we had what looked like a perfect life. We both had decent jobs, a mortgage on a cozy little house, and friends who would comment on how great we seemed together. But beneath the surface, things were starting to unravel. It started with minor changes, little things I shrugged off. Laura began spending more time on her phone, often working late or going out with friends. I thought it was just the stress of life with a toddler. But the more time went on, the more I felt something was off. The laughter we used to share during dinner was replaced by silence, and when she would talk, it was often short and clipped. I was worried but didn't know how to approach her about it. I had always been the easygoing one in our relationship, but I felt my patience wearing thin. Then came Mia's birthday trip. I planned a weekend getaway to a nice hotel by the beach, a special treat for our daughter. I was excited, thinking this would be a chance for us to reconnect as a family. But then Laura announced she'd rather go for a girls' trip instead. I tried to hide my disappointment, but deep down it left a pit in my stomach. Her insistence felt off, especially with our daughter's birthday looming. I suggested maybe we could bring a friend along, but Laura brushed it aside, claiming she needed some time away. I reluctantly agreed, thinking maybe this was just a phase. On the day of Mia's birthday, I decided to surprise them, a fatherly gesture, I thought. I packed up our things and headed to the hotel, eager to make the most of the day. But as I approached the hotel, I saw a car parked outside that made my blood run cold. It was a sleek black sedan that I recognized as belonging to Mark, one of Laura's coworkers. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my heart sank as a dreadful thought crossed my mind. I went inside the hotel, and my gut twisted tighter as I approached our room. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear voices, Laura's and a man. I stood frozen for a moment, fighting back the nausea that was rising in my throat. My mind raced with possibilities, each one more horrific than the last. I pushed the door open, and what I saw shattered my heart into pieces. There she was, my wife, sitting on the bed with Mark, laughing. The sight of their intimacy struck me like a lightning bolt. She looked so beautiful and carefree, and it infuriated me. At that moment, I felt like an intruder in my own life. I cleared my throat, and they both turned to me, eyes wide with shock. "Jake, what are you doing here?" Laura stammered, attempting to cover herself with a sheet as if I hadn't just walked in on them. The denial in her voice was palpable, and it felt like a physical blow. "Is this what you meant by a girl's trip?" I managed to say, my voice low and trembling with anger. The betrayal twisted like a knife in my gut. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Mark quickly scrambled off the bed, fumbling for his clothes. "Jake, wait, this isn't what it looks like," Laura said, but her excuse felt hollow to me. What else could it be? As I stood there, the initial shock faded to a cold fury. I had to confront her, to demand answers. I took a step forward, and that's when the realization hit me. This was the end of everything I thought I knew. I had come there wanting to celebrate our daughter's birthday, only to find my wife betraying me. My heart raced as I braced myself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. As Mark hurriedly dressed and left the room, I turned my focus back to Laura. She looked panicked, her eyes darting between me and the door. "Jake, please let me explain," she begged, her voice trembling. But how could I listen? My world had just been turned upside down. At that moment, I felt a swirl of emotions, anger, betrayal, sadness flooding my mind. I wanted to scream, to cry, to make her feel the way I felt. Instead, I took a deep breath and glared at her, waiting for whatever excuse would come next. "Explain what, Laura? How you've been lying to me? How you've been cheating on me?" My voice barely contained my rage as I spoke. I needed to hear her words, even if I knew deep down they wouldn't change anything. And then she started talking, her words tumbling out in a frantic rush, trying to piece together a story that I could hardly listen to. Laura's frantic explanations poured out in a jumble, her words barely coherent as she shifted nervously on the bed. "Jake, I swear, it's not what it looks like. Mark and I were just talking. We were working on a project together, and it just turned into—" Her voice trailed off, and she looked at me pleadingly. You know how stressed I've been. I thought a weekend away would help us reconnect, but I didn't mean to hurt you." Her excuses felt flimsy, like a house of cards about to collapse. Did she really think I would buy that? I clenched my fists, trying to hold back my anger. "Talking. Is that what you call it? Because it looks an awful lot like you were getting ready to have sex with him." I watched her face pale, and for a moment I could see the weight of my words settling in. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. Instead, she looked away, guilt washing over her features. It was almost a relief to see that I wasn't the only one feeling pain in that moment. "Did you even think about Mia?" I continued, my voice rising with each word. "This is her birthday and you're here playing house with another man. What the hell, Laura?" She pressed her palms together, her eyes glistening with tears. "I messed up, Jake. I didn't think it would go this far. Mark is just someone I connected with at work. I was feeling lonely and overwhelmed, and he was there. It didn't mean anything." My heart raced as her words sank in. Loneliness, overwhelmed. Did she think I wasn't feeling the same pressures of parenthood? I had tried to support her through everything. Her sleepless nights with Mia, the endless chores, the financial strain. But instead of coming to me, she had found solace in another man's arms. "Did you even consider talking to me about how you felt?" I shot back, feeling the ache of betrayal deepen. "I would have listened, Laura. We could have worked through this together, but you chose to betray me instead." "Jake, please," she pleaded, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I love you, I really do. This was a terrible mistake." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of honesty in her eyes. But then reality crashed in again. The image of her with Mark, the way she laughed with him, the love I thought we shared, it all felt like a lie. "Love," I laughed bitterly. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have lied, you wouldn't have cheated." She looked at me, her eyes wide and desperate. "I was just trying to escape. I thought I could find a way to feel better about everything. I didn't want to hurt you or Mia. I just wanted to feel alive." That word, alive, cut through me. I had poured my heart into our marriage, only to learn that she felt stifled. But what she didn't realize was that she had suffocated me with her betrayal. My mind raced as I tried to process everything. The anger coursing through me was like a raging river, threatening to overwhelm me, but beneath it lay something more profound, deep-seated sadness and loss. "I don't know how we can come back from this," I finally said, my voice quieter now. "You've shattered my trust, Laura. I don't even know who you are anymore." She reached out for me, but I stepped back, feeling the chasm between us grow wider. "Don't touch me. Just don't." Laura started crying, a shaky sob that tore at my heart. But the tears didn't change the reality of what had happened. I felt a cold resolve settle in me, a need to assert control over a situation that had spiraled completely out of hand. "Mark," I said, the name bitter on my tongue. "Was this just a one-time thing, or have you been seeing him for a while?" Her hesitation spoke volumes. "It was just that once," she rushed to say, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. "We've never crossed that line before. It just happened. I promise." I struggled to take in her words. I wanted to believe her, but part of me was already questioning every moment we had shared. Did this all stem from a fleeting moment of weakness, or was there something deeper that I hadn't seen? "You need to leave," I said firmly, my heart racing. "I can't be around you right now. I need to think." "Jake, please," she cried, her voice breaking. "I'll do anything. We can fix this. Just give me a chance." But I was already moving toward the door. I didn't want to hear any more excuses. I needed to escape the reality of my life for just a moment, to make sense of the chaos that had erupted. As I stepped out of the hotel room, I left Laura's pleas echoing behind me. My heart felt heavy, the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. I staggered into the hallway, feeling like I had just walked out of a nightmare. How had it come to this? How had I lost the woman I loved, the mother of my child, to someone else? The questions swirled in my mind as I made my way to the elevator, my thoughts racing with the uncertainty of what would come. Next, I needed to gather my thoughts to figure out how to move forward. The image of Laura with Mark was seared into my mind, and there was no escaping it. I felt a mix of anger and sadness, but most of all, I felt betrayal. I had no idea how to navigate the aftermath of this discovery or what it meant for our family going forward. As I waited for the elevator, I knew one thing for sure. I was no longer the same man who had walked into that hotel room just hours before. Everything had changed, and now it was time for me to decide what to do next. I stepped into the elevator, the silence wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. Each floor felt like an eternity as I rode down, the emotions swirling inside me. I pressed the button for the lobby and tried to focus, but my mind was a hurricane of thoughts. I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly lost. As the doors slid open, I stepped out into the bright, bustling lobby, but it felt like I was in a different world. People milled about, laughing, checking in, and enjoying life, while I was trapped in my own private hell. I walked outside into the crisp air, hoping that the fresh breeze would help clear my head, but it only heightened my turmoil. Where could I even go now? I fished my phone from my pocket and stared at it for a moment. I wanted to call someone, maybe my best friend Ben, who always seemed to have the right words. But then I realized I didn't want to share this just yet. I wasn't ready to speak the words that would make it real. Instead, I needed to process everything on my own first. So I started walking, letting my feet guide me through the nearby park. The leaves were beginning to change, a hint of fall in the air, but all I could think about was the chaos in my life. I couldn't help but replay every moment leading up to this point, the late nights, the distance, the little lies she told. I had been so blind, so trusting, and Laura had taken advantage of that. Eventually, I found a bench and sat down, my heart racing as I replayed the confrontation in my mind. I imagined what I could have said differently, how I could have made her understand the depth of my pain, but part of me also felt a sense of anger, a fire igniting within me. I deserved better than this. I had poured my heart and soul into our marriage, and she had thrown it away. After what felt like hours of brooding, I knew I needed to face Laura again. I had to confront her about the reality we were in. We had a daughter to think about, and I had to make a decision about our future. I couldn't let this linger, but I also wasn't ready to forgive. When I returned to the hotel, I felt a mixture of anxiety and determination wash over me. I walked up to our room, my heart pounding. I knocked on the door, and a moment later, Laura opened it, her eyes red and puffy from crying. The sight of her, even in her vulnerability, made my stomach turn. "Jake," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Please, can we talk?" I stepped inside, my emotions stirring again, but I forced myself to stay composed. "We need to discuss what's next, Laura. This cannot go on like this. I can't pretend everything is okay." She nodded, her face a mask of regret. "I know I've hurt you and I hate myself for it. I don't want to lose you, Jake. Please let me explain everything." "Fine," I said, crossing my arms. "But I need the truth. No more lies. How long has this been going on?" Her gaze dropped to the floor. "It was just a few weeks." I thought I was just being friendly, but then it turned into something else. I didn't want it to happen. I was just so lonely. Lonely. I interrupted, bitterness creeping into my voice. "You didn't think to talk to me. You didn't think to tell me you were feeling neglected. You chose to cheat instead." "Jake, please," she begged. "I know it was wrong. I didn't think it would get this far. I was just trying to find some kind of connection. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought it was just a phase, a harmless distraction." "Harmless?" I shot back, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You think sleeping with another man while I'm at home with our child is harmless? You've shattered my trust, Laura." She let out a shaky breath, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I know, and I'm so sorry. It was stupid. I didn't think. I thought I was just escaping a bit of stress. I didn't think about the consequences." I wanted to scream at her, to unleash the fury that brewed inside me, but I knew I had to stay focused. "Do you have feelings for him?" The question hung in the air like a thundercloud, and I could see the panic in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't want to have feelings. It was just supposed to be a fling, a break from reality." She was pleading now, and part of me felt for her, but I couldn't let that distract me from the reality of our situation. "Laura, this isn't just about you anymore. We have Mia to think about." I felt a lump in my throat as I said her name. "What do we do now?" "I want to work on our marriage," she said, her voice firming up slightly. "I want us to go to counseling together. I want to make this right. I love you and I want to fix this. Please give me a chance." Her words hung in the air, and I could see the desperation in her eyes. But could I really trust her again? Was I willing to risk everything for the chance of salvaging our marriage? The thought of staying together felt like a mountain I wasn't sure I could climb, but the thought of tearing our family apart was equally terrifying. I don't know if I can forgive you, Laura, I finally said, my voice strained. It's going to take time, and I don't even know if I want to try. You've hurt me in a way I never thought was possible. I need space to think about this. Jake, please don't say that, she pleaded, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away, needing to create distance. I need to figure out what I want, and right now, it's hard to see past the betrayal. As I turned to leave the room, I could feel her gaze burning into my back. I knew this was a turning point for us, the moment where everything changed. The road ahead was uncertain, and I had no idea where it would lead, but I couldn't ignore the reality of our situation any longer. It was time for me to take control of my life and make a decision that would affect not just me, but our entire family. And for the first time, I felt a glimmer of strength within me. I needed to find my own path, whether that meant healing our marriage or starting anew. After leaving Laura in the hotel room, I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relieved that I finally confronted her, but dreading the uncertainty of what came next. As I stepped outside, the cool breeze hit my face, reminding me that I still had the rest of the world outside this heartbreak. I wandered through the nearby park, the rustling leaves overhead mirroring the turmoil in my mind. I knew I had some decisions to make, but the uncertainty felt paralyzing. Should I fight for my marriage? Should I try to salvage what was left, or was it time to move on? The thought of Mia weighed heavily on me. I wanted to protect her from the fallout of our broken relationship, but how could I do that if I didn't even know what I wanted? I decided to call Ben. I needed to talk to someone who could help me sort through my feelings. He picked up on the second ring, and I could hear the surprise in his voice. Jake, is everything okay? Not really, I admitted, sitting on a bench and staring at the ground. I just caught Laura cheating on me. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could almost hear Ben processing what I had just said. What? Are you serious? Yeah, I walked in on her with some guy from work. It's a mess, man. I felt the weight of my emotions swell as I spoke. I don't even know how to handle this. Dude, I can't believe this. How are you holding up? He asked, genuine concern in his voice. I don't know, I'm angry, devastated, and confused all at once. I confronted her, and she's begging for another chance, but I don't know if I can trust her again. Have you talked to her about how you're feeling? Ben asked. You should lay it all out there. This is a big deal and you deserve to be heard. I did, but it felt like she was just throwing out excuses. I'm still trying to process everything. My whole life feels turned upside down. What about Mia? Have you thought about how this affects her? Ben's question hit me hard, a reminder of what was at stake. I can't stop thinking about her. She deserves a stable home, but I don't know if I can keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. You need to put your feelings first. You can't stay in a relationship that's hurting you, especially for her sake. But you also have to think about how this will affect Mia if you decide to separate. His words were a gut punch, a stark reminder that I had to consider what kind of environment I wanted for our daughter. I know, I just don't want to ruin her life. But I can't let this go without making a decision. Take your time. Ben suggested. You don't need to rush into anything. Whatever you decide, you need to make sure it's what's best for you and Mia. We talked for a while longer, and I felt a little lighter by the end of the conversation. Ben's perspective helped ground me, but the emotional weight still loomed large. As I walked back to the hotel, my mind was racing with considerations. I needed to speak to Laura again, to set boundaries and communicate my feelings more clearly. When I returned, I found her sitting on the bed, her eyes red and puffy. She looked up at me with a mixture of hope and fear. Jake, I'm so glad you came back. I've been thinking about what we talked about. Laura, I need to be honest with you, I started, pulling a chair to face her. I don't know if I can forgive you right now. You broke my trust in a way I never thought possible. She nodded, her expression heavy with regret. I understand. I know I've hurt you. I've been selfish and I hate myself for it, but I want to fight for us. I want to make things right. Fighting for us isn't just about saying sorry, I said firmly. You need to understand how deep this goes. I need to know you're committed to doing the work together or apart. I am. I want to go to counseling. I'll do anything to show you I'm serious about fixing this. I want to be a better wife, a better mother. Her desperation tugged at my heart, but I was still reeling from the betrayal. It's not just about you, Laura. I need time to process what you've done. This isn't just going to disappear. I need space to think about whether I want to continue this relationship or not. Please don't say that, she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. I know I messed up, but I love you. I want our family to work. Her words hit me hard. I wanted to believe her, but the doubt gnawed at me. Love doesn't justify what you did. You chose to seek comfort in someone else instead of me. That's not something I can easily forget. Please, she begged, her voice trembling. I'll do better, I promise. I'll make this right. I'll go to therapy. I'll communicate better. I'll do everything I can to show you how much you mean to me. Actions speak louder than words, Laura. You need to prove it, I said, my voice softening slightly. I don't want this to be the end, but I can't just jump back into things without knowing I can trust you again. I understand, she said, her shoulders slumping with defeat. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't give up on us. I love you, Jake. The words hung in the air, and while I wanted to believe her, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I was torn between the history we shared, the love I once felt, and the raw pain of her infidelity. I'm going to need time to think, and I need you to respect that, I finally said. Right now, I can't make any promises. Laura nodded, her eyes filling with tears as she wiped her cheeks. I'll respect that. Just know I'm here and I'm willing to fight for us. With that, I walked out, the weight of uncertainty heavy on my shoulders. I had so many questions swirling in my mind, but one thing was clear. This was far from over. I had to find a way to decide what I wanted, not just for myself, but for Mia. As I made my way outside, I realized that this was the beginning of a long and difficult journey. No matter what happened, I needed to find a way to reclaim my sense of self, to navigate the aftermath of this betrayal, and to forge a path forward for my family. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to face it head-on. The next few days became an emotional blur as I tried to navigate the fallout from Laura's betrayal. I went through the motions of my daily routine while my mind raced with questions and doubts. I was constantly torn between anger and a desire to mend the rift that had formed between us. Each time I looked at Mia, my heart ached with the thought of how this would affect her, and it fueled my internal conflict. Laura and I shared the house, but it felt like we were living in two separate worlds. The laughter and joy that once filled our home had been replaced with a cold, tense silence. I tried to be civil for Mia's sake, but it was nearly impossible to ignore the palpable tension in the air. Every time she asked where we would go for her birthday, I felt like I was being stabbed in the gut. We should have been planning that together, not tiptoeing around the wreckage of our marriage. I spent hours scrolling through articles about infidelity, seeking advice and insight. I wanted to understand the psychology behind cheating and how people manage to rebuild their relationships. Some stories were filled with hope, while others painted a much bleaker picture. I found myself drawn to the ones that spoke about couples who had successfully reconciled, but I also recognized the deep scars that often lingered long after the betrayal. After a week of avoiding the tough conversations, I decided it was time to talk to Laura again. I needed to set boundaries and clarify my feelings. I also wanted to gauge the sincerity of her efforts. I had to know if she was truly committed to healing the rift between us or if she was merely trying to save face. That evening, after Mia went to bed, I pulled Laura aside in the living room. She looked nervous, a hint of fear flickering in her eyes. It was evident that she had been waiting for this moment, and I could see the hope in her expression. Jake, thank you for talking to me. I know things have been rough, but I'm really trying to show you how committed I am to us, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. I appreciate that, Laura, but I need to be very clear about where I stand right now. I'm still incredibly hurt and angry. What you did has hurt me deeply, and it's not something that just goes away. She nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. I understand. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Actions speak louder than words, I reiterated, feeling the weight of my own words. I need to see commitment from you. I want you to go to therapy, not just for us, but for yourself. You need to understand the reasons behind your actions. I need to Know you're doing this for you, not just to save our marriage. I will, I promise, she said, her voice filled with urgency. I'll find a therapist and start right away. I want to understand why I did this, and I want to be better for you and Mia. I felt a flicker of hope at her determination, but I also knew that genuine change couldn't happen overnight. This is going to be a long process. You've shattered my trust, and it's going to take time to rebuild it. I need you to be patient with me. I can be patient, Jake, she assured me, wiping away her tears. I'll do whatever it takes. I love you. The weight of her words hung heavily between us. Love. It was a word that had once felt so powerful, but now it felt tainted. I wanted to believe her, but the echoes of her infidelity still rang loud in my heart. I need space to process everything, I said firmly. I don't want to rush into anything, and I don't want to give you false hope either. We need to take this one step at a time. Of course, she agreed, her voice softening. I'll give you the space you need. I just want to show you that I'm serious about fixing this. I can't lose you, Jake. I wished I could ease her pain, but I had my own wounds to heal. We'll see how things go, I replied, feeling the gravity of the moment. We need to focus on our daughter and figure out how to co-parent through this, regardless of what happens between us. With that, I turned to leave, the conversation hanging in the air like a fragile thread. I felt a mixture of sadness and determination wash over me. The road ahead would be challenging, but I was resolved to make the right decisions for my family. In the days that followed, Laura began attending therapy, and I tried to give her the space she needed while also keeping communication open. I found myself wondering if I could ever forgive her, and if reconciliation was even possible. It felt like I was walking a tightrope, teetering between hope and despair. Mia's birthday was approaching, and I knew we needed to put on a united front. For her sake, Laura and I reluctantly agreed to spend the day together as a family. As the day drew closer, I found myself feeling increasingly anxious. What could have been a joyful celebration now felt like a looming reminder of our fractured relationship. On the morning of Mia's birthday, I woke up early, my mind racing. I wanted to make the day special for our daughter while also trying to navigate the tension between Laura and me. I decided to prepare breakfast for all of us, hoping that a calm start might help ease the day's awkwardness. As I flipped pancakes in the kitchen, the aroma filled the air, and I could hear the faint sound of Mia stirring in her room. I placed the pancakes on a plate, deciding to put a smiley face on them with some whipped cream and strawberries. It was the kind of small gesture I hoped would make her day special. When Laura joined me in the kitchen, she looked tired but hopeful. "That smells amazing," she said, a hint of a smile creeping onto her face. "Thank you for doing this." I nodded, not really wanting to engage too deeply. Just trying to make today special for Mia. We shared a quiet breakfast, the tension still palpable but less intense than it had been. As we sat together, I caught glimpses of the woman I once loved, her laughter, her kindness, but the shadow of betrayal still loomed over us. After breakfast, we helped Mia open her presents together. She was bursting with excitement, and her joy was infectious. As she tore through the wrapping paper and squealed with delight, I found myself momentarily forgetting the pain that lingered between Laura and me. For a few hours, it felt like we were a family again. We played games, laughed, and even took silly photos, capturing moments of happiness amidst the chaos. But as the day wore on, the reality of our situation loomed larger. By the time evening approached, I felt a mix of anxiety and dread. After Mia went to bed, I knew I needed to have a more serious conversation with Laura about our future. We couldn't keep living in this limbo. It was unfair to both of us. As I gathered my thoughts, I wondered if I would be able to find the right words to express how I truly felt. The weight of the decision ahead felt heavier than ever, and I had to confront the reality of whether we could truly heal together or if it was time to let go for good. The uncertainty was terrifying, but I had to face it head-on. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through our living room window, I knew it was time. The day had passed in a whirlwind of laughter and smiles, but the underlying tension remained, a shadow lurking behind every moment of joy. I found Laura sitting on the couch, her eyes slightly red from an earlier bout of tears. She looked up as I entered, a hint of hope sparking in her gaze, but I knew I had to be honest with her. The time for pretense was over. "Laura, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. "About us." "Okay," she replied, her voice small. "I'm ready to listen." I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the conversation that could alter the course of our lives. "I want to start by saying that I've been doing a lot of thinking about everything, about you, about us, and about what happened." She nodded, biting her lip as she braced herself for what was to come. "I know I hurt you, and I truly am sorry. I want to make things right. I promise I'll do better." I paused for a moment, weighing my words carefully. "I believe that you're sincere about wanting to change, but the truth is, I don't know if I can trust you again. What you did shattered me, and while I appreciate your willingness to go to therapy, I can't ignore the fact that rebuilding that trust is going to take time, if it's even possible." Her expression shifted slightly, the realization settling in. "Jake, I understand. I know this is going to be difficult, but I love you and I want to fight for this. I don't want to lose you. Love is important, but it's not enough on its own. I need to prioritize my own well-being and that of our daughter," I said, feeling the weight of the moment. "I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it is. It's not fair to either of us." "I don't want to lose my family," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'll do anything to prove to you that I can change." "Laura," I started, my voice softening. "I think we need to consider what might be best for both of us moving forward. I'm not saying it's the end, but we need to figure out if we can truly heal from this. I can't keep living in this state of uncertainty." "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I think we need to take some time apart," I replied, my heart heavy with the words. "Not forever, but enough to really evaluate where we stand. I need to be sure of what I want, and I can't do that while living under the same roof. This is about me finding clarity and understanding how to move forward, whether that's together or apart." Her face fell, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. "You really think this is the best option, to separate?" "I think it's the only option that gives us both the space to figure out what we truly want. I love you. But I also recognize that love alone might not be enough to heal this wound," I said, feeling the tears prick the corners of my eyes. "I just can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not." She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't fight you on this. I see how hurt you are, and I can't keep dragging you down. If this is what you need, then I understand." The heartache between us was palpable, a bitter reminder of what we had lost. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our decision settling over us like a heavy shroud. "I want you to know that I hope this isn't the end for us," I finally said, my voice thick with emotion. "I believe in our family and the love we once had. I just need to be certain that we can find our way back to each other." "I hope so too," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I never wanted to hurt you, and I'll do everything I can to show you that I can change." As I stood to leave, I felt a mix of sadness and determination. This was a difficult choice, but I knew it was necessary. I needed to reclaim my sense of self, to take control of my life, and see if redemption was truly possible. I walked toward the door but paused for a moment, glancing back at Laura. She looked so small and vulnerable, and it tugged at my heart. "Take care of yourself, Laura. I hope you find the strength to really work on the things that led you to this point." "You too, Jake," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I hope we can find a way back to each other someday." With that, I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. The world outside felt different, as if I were seeing it for the first time. I had made a choice, and while the uncertainty loomed ahead, I felt a flicker of hope begin to ignite within me. I had no idea what the future held, but I was determined to find my way. I wanted to be the best father I could be for Mia and the best version of myself. Whatever lay ahead, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was ready to face the challenges ahead, ready to discover what healing truly looked like, whether that meant reuniting with Laura or forging a new path on my own. Life was unpredictable, but I was finally ready to embrace that uncertainty and take the first steps toward healing.